Hello everyone. I noticed that about 80% of people watching my videos aren't subscribed. If you enjoy what I make, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps more people find these stories. Thanks for watching, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? My name is Dylan Adams. I am a state trooper with the Arizona Department of Public Safety. I have been in service for 16 years. My jurisdiction runs a section of the old Route 66 corridor between Kingman and Seligman. Desert on every side, railroad to the south, tribal land to the north. 2 lanes, no shade, no cell coverage for long stretches. People think the desert is empty. It is not. It is just quiet enough to hear what is moving underneath it. Most nights are dull by necessity. Highway patrol is a job of routine and paperwork. Stop a drunk driver. Clear debris from a collision. Wait for tow trucks that never arrive on time. Yet there are rules out here that are not written anywhere in the policy manuals. They are learned in pieces, mostly from the men and women who came before, the rest from the dead who did not get the chance to pass them on. I was still a rookie when I learned about Leonard Pierce. He was a senior trooper with 23 years. In 1989, he went missing during a night stop on the same corridor I patrol now. His cruiser was found empty with the engine running and the emergency lights off. No sign of struggle. His body was never recovered. The only report note that survived mentions an unregistered Bic Riviera from 1982. Old plates. No sticker. Driver not identified. The words traffic violation were crossed out and replaced with attempted contact. Then nothing. People said Leonard was steady, composed, not the type to panic, which meant something happened that did not spare him even long enough to radio a code. Everyone else learned a quiet rule from that. If a car has no year sticker and the plates do not shine in the spotlight, you do not approach from the driver's side. You circle wide. You make the driver come to you. That rule has saved lives. It has also taken a few. Some rules do that. I should say a bit about the environment so you understand why strange things get noticed. The road cuts across a basin that seems too big for what it holds. Heat wavers across the asphalt during the day. At night the stars collapse into a dome bright enough to see the gravel by starlight. There are long stretches where the road has no reflectors. When you drive those parts, your headlights feel like a flashlight over a canyon. The first sign that things are wrong on Route 66 is silence. Not the quiet kind, the total kind. No cicadas, no coyotes, no wind on the guardrails. When the desert goes silent, you check your mirrors. You check your radio. You check your rules. Then you do not leave your vehicle unless you absolutely must. That is Rule 1. I was 35 the night I pulled over the Riviera. I had been on the job long enough to know the corridor does not give second chances. It was September, 1 in the morning. High thin clouds reflecting moonlight. I was running routine patrol when I caught taillights in the distance. They were the wrong color for modern lenses. A little too soft. A little too orange. I clocked the car at 45. Slow enough to fail minimum speed for the section. Speeding gets most drivers killed. Out here going too slow can too. I lit it up with the overheads. The Riviera braked without swerving. Turned into the shoulder. Perfect textbook stop. Except the shoulder there is narrow gravel with a drop into sagebrush. No sensible driver chooses that spot. Rule 2 is you do not stop where the terrain funnels you. But I had already committed by flashing the lights. Backing off is worse. The car observes that. Dispatch is thin after midnight. I radioed in the plate. The reply came after a pause. Plate not found in registry. I asked for year and state. Dispatch repeated plate not found. Voice low. No chatter behind her. I thought about Leonard. Thought about the blank sticker. The Riviera sat there. Engine idling. A faint white smoke drifted out of the tailpipe like winter breath. Too cold for September. My door hinges creaked when I stepped out. I kept one hand on the spotlight lever. Standard stance. I called out. Evening. State Police. Keep your hands visible and step out of the vehicle. No movement. Engine ran steady. Driver. Out of the vehicle. Still nothing. Rule 3 is you do not approach from the driver's side. Rule 3 was written for cars like this. So I circled wide. Gravel crunched under my boots. When I angled toward the rear quarter panel, the Riviera lights shut off without a click. No dimming. Just gone. The engine kept idling. Everything else died. I felt the desert silence settle on my shoulders. That kind of silence has weight. It makes you breathe slower, as if you should not disturb it. I took another step. The radio on my shoulder hissed with open air. No voice. No static. Just bad carrier signal. That is when I knew I was in the wrong position. Driver. Step out now. I kept my voice level. A shape moved inside. Not a silhouette. More like the suggestion of someone leaning forward. The door opened. There was no courtesy dome light. A man stepped out. Medium build. Dark jacket. Hair cut short in a style out of place. He stood facing the ground. I told him to show his hands. He did. Slowly. Palms empty. No tremor. No hesitation. License and registration. The man raised his head. His eyes did not catch the spotlight. They stayed dull. Is there a problem, officer? His voice was dry. Something about the way he formed officer felt like a translation instead of speech. Minimum speed. Plate not reading. Need documentation. Everything is in order. He said, not on my end. Then you are reading it wrong. I asked him to step toward my unit. Standard safety procedure. He nodded once. Began walking. The sound of his footsteps did not match the gravel. Each step landed like he was on carpet. That was subtle, and I almost missed it. Subtle matters, hey. When we reached my rear bumper, I noticed a smell. Cold metal and stale water. Not rot. Not gasoline. Like an old basement untouched for years. The wind should have carried it away. There was no wind. Name? I asked. Leonard Pierce. He said. My throat tightened. There are times you want to correct someone gently. Ask if they misunderstood. That is violation by compassion. Compassion is costly out here. Rule 4 is you do not acknowledge personal names given without prompting. Names are an invitation. Invitations require acceptance. Acceptance has consequences. I did not say his name. I just asked again. Your name. He looked at my cruiser. It is written already. Your documentation. It is in the vehicle. Retrieve it slowly. When the wind stopped, Morales grabbed my arm. He remembered the rule. He said it quietly. He said we should turn back. Then the radio crackled. My daughter's voice came through. Clay, saying Dad. I stepped forward. That was the moment. Everything changed. I will explain what happened, but you need to understand this first. I work in places where rules exist, not to prevent accidents, but to contain something that preys on human behavior. It waits for duty. It waits for love. It waits for us to believe we are the exception. And it has been waiting on Caddo Lake for a very long time. I did not answer the radio. That is important to say out loud. I did not press the transmit button. I did not call her name back. I took one step forward, then another, then stopped. Morales had his hand on my sleeve, hard enough to hurt. Sir, he said. Just that. No explanation. He did not need one. The voice came again. Same tone. Same cadence. She used when she was younger, and scared to wake me up. Dad, I am cold. That was not possible. My daughter was at college. 3 states away. I had spoken to her the night before. I knew where she was. I also knew the rule. Never answer. Never approach. Never acknowledge. The third rule says that once a voice uses a personal connection, you disengage immediately. You leave equipment. If you have to, you do not retrieve. You do not investigate further. You document from a distance, and you escalate through administrative channels that do not exist on paper. I nodded at Morales. He did not loosen his grip until I turned away from the trees behind us. Something moved. Through the water. Slow. Careful. Like it was disappointed. We retreated to the vehicles. We called it in. As a lost signal. And a possible injury. With no visual confirmation. The utility company was not happy. They never are. They wanted boots on the ground. They wanted answers. They got a report. The missing lineman's name was Peter Haskins, age 34, married, one child. We never recovered him. His wife heard his voice on her voicemail 2 nights later, asking her to open the back door. She did not. Someone else in her house did. Her father-in-law. He is still alive. He does not speak anymore. After that, the lake changed its behavior. That is the best way I can describe it. Calls increased, but incidents decreased. People reported lights that went out on their own, boats that drifted back to shore empty, phones ringing and stopping. When answered, it felt like stabilization. The state liked that. Fewer missing persons, fewer overtime requests, less attention. That was the false calm. Administratively, we were told to scale back patrols on the water at night. Budget reasons, safety concerns, liability. I did not argue. I should have. The rule about presence matters. If we are there, it watches us. If we leave, it practices. Morales came to me a month later and said he wanted off-lake duty. He said he could not sleep. He said he heard his mother calling from the bayou near his house, even though she had been dead 4 years. I approved his transfer. He thanked me like I had saved his life. 2 weeks after that, he put his cruiser into a tree on County Road 12. Single vehicle. No skid marks. Time of accident 0340. Dispatch log show a call from his unit just before impact. Background audio only. Water sounds. I attended his funeral. In uniform. I stood next to his wife. She asked me why he had been on that road so late. I told her. Training. That was another containment choice. The rules adapted. They always do. We added one. That hurt people. If you hear a voice you recognize, and it is not physically possible for them to be there, you treat it as hostile. No hesitation. No attempt to verify. You disengage, even if it means leaving someone behind. That rule saved lives. It also cost them. The next loss was my brother-in-law, Mark. He worked search and rescue as a volunteer. He did not fall under my authority. He knew some of the rules. Not all. He heard his daughter crying from the water near their camp. He went in. His wife watched from the dock. She says he turned back once. Then he smiled and stepped forward again, like someone had reminded him of something important. We recovered his body. 3 days later, he looked peaceful. That made it worse. I stopped sleeping. After that, my wife noticed. She asked me if the lake was getting to me. I told her it was stress. That was a lie. The lake had been getting to us 4 generations. We had just forgotten how to talk about it. There is a limitation. Every entity has one. This one cannot cross. Running water, created by human systems. Pumps, spillways, floodgates. It can move through natural channels and still water. It cannot pass through active flow. That is mechanically maintained. That is why it stays where it does. That is why the old rules were written around infrastructure. We learned that too late to matter. During the second year, a drought lowered the lake enough at the old spillway at the south end. Stopped running. Maintenance delays. Funding gaps. Paperwork. I filed 3 requests to keep it active artificially. All denied. The first night, the flow stopped. Dispatch logged 12 calls. In 30 minutes. All voices. All familiar. All after dark. We shut down the lines. The next morning, we found footprints leading across the dry spillway, into areas that had never seen incidents before. Neighborhoods, backyards, schools. Containment failed. Quietly, my wife left. With our son. That week, she said she could not live somewhere that felt like it was listening to her thoughts. I did not stop her. I did not deserve to. The state sent a task force. They asked for data. I gave them reports. Stripped of context. They asked why. Certain calls were ignored. I cited protocol. They asked for written copies. I told them. Some procedures were legacy and verbal. They did not like that. They left. After 3 days. The voices did not. Now the rules are breaking down. People are tired. Deputies are making their own calls. Compassion is creeping back in. Because exhaustion looks like kindness. I am still here. Because I know its limits. I know when to turn away. I know that it wants me more than anyone else. Because I denied it once. When it used my daughter's voice. It is patient. If you live near Caddo Lake, and you hear someone calling you from the water after dark, do not answer. Do not go closer. Do not believe. That love makes you special. It is learning, and we are running out of places to stand. After the spillway dried out, we started getting calls from places that had never been part of our mental map of risk. Backyards with swing sets, boat houses converted into guest rooms, a daycare 2 miles inland that backed up, exploits rank, shows deference until given an opening, then it destroys without malice. Malice would be easier. Malice implies emotion. This is closer to hunger. By October, the corridor felt watched. Colleagues reported seeing rear-view reflections that did not match the road behind them. One deputy claimed he saw his own cruiser following at a distance. Same plates, same spotlight. He accelerated to close the gap. The cruiser vanished near the same unmarked bend. He filed no report. I did not sleep well during those weeks. I began dreaming of taillights, orange and soft and patient, always at a fixed distance, never closing, never receding. I would wake with the smell of old water in my nose. Then came the night of the first system failure. Not supernatural, administrative. Regional command updated radio firmware. New encryption protocol. It cut our effective range by half. No one admitted the change was deliberate. No one needed to. The corridor became quieter on the air. When corridors go quiet, things move closer. It was late November when the Riviera returned. I was parked near marker 170, angle facing east. I saw the lights crest a rise. Same speed, same color, same behavior. I felt my pulse steady instead of spike. That is how emotional erosion feels. Fear gives way to resignation. I did not light it up. I just watched. The Riviera slowed on approach, rolled to a stop beside my unit. The driver window lowered. No motor whine, just motion. The man inside looked at the road ahead and spoke without turning. You pulled me over once. I remember. Then you should not have touched me. The corridor went silent again. My radio clicked. Open carrier. No voice. Why are you here? I asked. To return what was taken. What was taken? Time. I swallowed. My mouth tasted like copper. Whose time? Yours. Mine. His. Theirs. Who is his? Leonard. Rule 9 says you do not pursue lineage. Lineage is how names become chains. I broke that rule. I asked. Pierce. The man smiled without looking. Yes. I should stop here for a moment. This is not the conclusion. It is just the point where any normal person would assume the situation reached a climax. It did not. It only changed shape. Survival out here is not about defeating anything. It is about buying time until the consequences land on someone else. The Riviera idled. Steam coiled from the exhaust. The man lifted something from the passenger's seat. It was a leather wallet. State issue. Badge impression worn soft. He held it out the window. I did not take it. Violation by contact once was enough. He let go. The wallet fell to the asphalt. Read the report this time, he said. Then he drove off. Backup arrived 20 minutes later. The wallet was still there. Inside was a badge with Pierce's number. The photo laminate was cracked. The date issued said 1981. I closed it slowly and put it in an evidence bag. The chain of custody log was signed by 4 officers. None questioned authenticity. None asked how it resurfaced. Institutions accept impossible items when paperwork allows it. At home, I stared at the badge on my kitchen table. My wife asked if it was a retirement gift. I told her it was departmental property. I did not tell her I had seen the man claiming to be Leonard. I did not tell her about the corridor silence. I did not tell her about rules. Families get hurt when they know rules. That was mistake number 2. Concealment is not protection. It is delay. Delay always expires. My wife's name is Brooke. We met before I joined the department. She teaches elementary in Kingman. Steady temperament. Clear eyes. The kind of person you want waiting at home when you live by shift rotation. I did not tell her about the corridor because I assumed home should be untouched by impossible things. That assumption was arrogance disguised as care. Compartmentalization works until the compartments leak. After the wallet incident, I filed supplemental paperwork. The supervisor stamped it once. No comments. No follow-up. That is how institutions survive anomalies. They avoid interpreting them. Interpretation implies responsibility. Responsibility implies liability. Liability opens the door to oversight. Oversight is the one thing the corridor cannot survive. Not because it would expose anything, because it would rationalize it. Rationalization removes fear. Fear keeps rules intact. The badge was sent to evidence in Phoenix. 2 weeks later, we received a memo acknowledging a clerical error. The memo claimed the badge belonged to a deceased officer whose personal effects had been misfiled since 1983. There was no mention of the Riviera. No mention of the stop. No mention of the sighting. That memo served as false stabilization. Paper dominance over experience. December brought cold winds and empty roads. Tourist traffic vanished. Truckers rerouted to the interstate. That left the corridor to us and whatever traveled it outside normal commerce. Night patrols doubled despite no defined threat. That is the paradox of highway safety. More officers get assigned when fewer civilians are at risk. The corridor thrives on paradoxes. I started hearing chatter from dispatchers. Not official reports. Personal calls. Concerned tones. One woman said she heard 2 overlapping male voices during routine license checks. Neither voice belonged to the officer. Another reported a child crying over an open channel that was muted for everyone except her. Dispatchers know rules too. Rule 10 made its way to the call center without ever being written. If you hear 2 voices on a 1-voice line, you do not acknowledge either. 3 days before Christmas, I went out on night shift with Deputy Morales. We rarely double up. The department treats paired patrol as an expense. But Morales requested it and I accepted. His reason was simple. He wanted to show me something. When we reached marker 167, he flashed his high beams twice. The desert responded with nothing. He killed the engine. The silence hit like a sandbag. No wind. No insects. No distant trucks. Just our breathing and the ticking of metal cooling. Tell me what you hear, Morales said. Nothing. Listen better. I strained. At first it was only the absence of sound. Then a faint clicking. Not steady. Intermittent. Like a tone signal from another car somewhere behind a ridge. After a minute the clicking stopped. Morales started the engine again. The desert resumed normal sound. A single coyote barked to the north. What was that? I asked. Rule 11. If you hear a tone signal and no vehicle is present, you leave that area within 1 minute. It means something is waiting for permission to merge. Permission from who? From you. I wanted to ask how he learned that, but that would have been lineage. I let it go. We rode in silence for a while. Morales broke it. You should tell your wife. Tell her what? What you are doing. What you are seeing. People get hurt when they are the last to know. She does not need to carry this. Morales laughed once. No humor. Everyone carries it. They just do not know what to call it. I did not argue. Christmas Eve shift was boilerplate. Parking lot disputes. Welfare check for a stranded RV. One domestic call routed from the county. I went home at 3 in the morning. The house was dark except the porch light. Brooke was asleep. The badge and the evidence bag sat in the hall closet because I could not decide whether to return it or burn it. Indecision is a slow violation. Not fatal at first. Fatal eventually. On Christmas Day we drove to see Brooke's sister in Flagstaff. Snow on the shoulders. Clear roads. Family talk. No mention of the corridor. I let myself believe stabilization was real. That belief was violation number 3. False hope creates openings. The new year brought administrative oversight. A captain from Phoenix reviewed our quarterly reports. He asked about increased radio failures. Morales answered. He asked about reduced civilian stops. I answered. He asked about the badge. We both said clerical error. The captain nodded and wrote nothing down. That was institutional denial at its most refined. Denial as policy. 2 weeks later the corridor reclaimed someone. Not a trooper. A civilian. A tow operator named Rizzo responded to a disabled vehicle call near the basin. He radioed dispatch once. Driver not present. Hood cold. Backtracking. Then silence. His truck was found later. Keys in ignition. Flashes on. No driver. Tracks in the dust suggested a single set of footprints leading toward the asphalt. Then the tracks stopped. No disturbance. No struggle. Just cessation. Rizzo had a wife and 2 daughters. The department paid out the insurance. The sheriff issued a statement about possible abduction. The corridor did not care about statements. It cared about rules. And someone had broken Rule 12. You do not backtrack alone. Whoever moved the call upstream had violated that rule through administrative neglect. Duty worked against survival again. The daughters came to the station with their mother a week later. They wanted answers. The captain offered condolences. Morales offered water. I stayed in the hall. Kids should not see men in uniform tell half-truths. When they left, the younger daughter stopped by the cruiser bay. She pointed at my unit. That is the car that Daddy said was watching us last year. I knelt. What do you mean? He said a police car followed him home from Seligman. When he stopped, it stopped. When he turned, it turned. He got mad and said they should do real police work. Did he see who was driving? She shook her head. He said they looked like mirrors. Mirrors. Not faces. Morales drove them home. I sat in my unit and stared at the steering wheel. That is how erosion works. Not by terror. By contradictions that do not resolve. A man vanishes. He leaves behind a description that implies pursuit but not malice. Pursuit without malice implies function. Function implies rule. Rule implies structure. Structure implies agency. Agency implies intelligence. Intelligence implies intent. Intent implies strategy. Strategy implies victory condition. I did not know what victory looked like for whatever on the corridor. Early February brought a storm. Rain hits the basin sideways. Visibility drops to yards. Radar fails. Lightning flashes without thunder. We were told to shut down patrol for 1 night. Dispatch tried to route calls through Mojave County. Phones overloaded. Silence again. That night at home, Brooke asked if I was scared. I told her fear was less useful than procedure. She asked what procedure was for. I did not know how to answer. Rules are not for survival. They are for delay. The storm cleared by dawn. Roads washed clean. Tire tracks erased. Nature does its own evidence disposal. We resumed patrol like nothing happened. But after the storm came the first direct communication. Not voice. Signal. The corridor started broadcasting. It began during a traffic stop. Trooper Nguyen pulled over a Ford F-150 for weaving. As he approached the driver window, his radio hissed. Then a single word came through. Not spoken. Formed. Old. Nguyen froze. The driver rolled down the window and asked if something was wrong. Nguyen backed away and told the driver to continue. That is not normal procedure. When asked why he did it, Nguyen said he did not feel like he was the one making the decision. That became Rule 13. If the corridor speaks in imperative, you obey once, then report immediately. Imperative overrides training. Training overrides pride. Higher-ups wanted audio. They reviewed the recording. The word was present but modulated. Not machine. Not human. Dispatch said the waveform resembled speech layered with mechanical interference at frequencies outside typical ranges. I listened once. It made my molars ache. Not long after that, the corridor made deliberate contact with me. It happened during a pursuit. A sedan blew a stop sign near Truxton. I initiated code. Lights and siren. Vehicle accelerated. We hit 90. Rainwater still pooled in dips. I called in position. Morales joined from the west. The sedan cut across a cattle guard and onto the corridor. Wrong move. The corridor narrows perception. At high speed it feels like a tunnel. Driver failing to yield. I said. Morales replied. Copy. Gaining. The sedan fishtailed. Tires throwing water. Then it stopped too clean. No skid. No brake lights. Just motion to stillness. I braked hard. My unit stood still on wet pavement like someone placed it there from above. Morales stopped behind me. We both exited, weapons drawn. The sedan door opened. A woman stepped out. Mid-40s. Soaked. Terrified. She held her hands high. Please do not shoot. I am sorry. On your knees. Hands behind your head. She complied. We cleared the vehicle. 2 kids in the back seat. Asleep. Belts on. Dry. Too dry for the weather. Morales checked pulse. Normal. That was when the corridor intervened. The kids opened their eyes at the same moment. No blink. No groan. Just awareness. The girl spoke first. Officer Adams. You need to let her go. Morales and I froze. Who are you? I asked. The boy smiled faintly. He is already waiting. You are late. Dispatch crackled. 6-4. Disengage. The voice was not dispatch. Not in tone. Not in cadence. Morales whispered. Do not acknowledge. I kept my weapon low but ready. The woman sobbed. I did not mean to speed. I was trying to get away from him. Who? She pointed down the corridor. Nothing there. No lights. No vehicles. Just wet asphalt stretching to the horizon. Him, she said. Then she collapsed. Not fainting. Folding. As if someone cut the strings. Rule 14 formed that night. You do not detain civilians who are intersected by corridor contact. Their time does not match yours. Their compliance does not guarantee safety. Safety does not exist for them on the corridor. We released her with a reckless driving citation. She drove away slowly. The kids never spoke again. Morales exhaled when she vanished from sight. They are using names now. He said. How do they know them? Names are easy. They listen. To what? To us. I did not radio the encounter. Morales did. His report sanitized the children's speech into confusion and shock. Administrative truth is about what can be defended in a meeting. Corridor truth is about survival. Later that month, Brooke found the evidence bag. She was looking for a winter coat in the closet. She brought it to the kitchen. Why do you have this? It is work property. Is this a real badge? Yes. Whose? Officer Pierce. She paused. The missing one. Yes. Why is it here and not in a museum or something? It came back. From where? Here is the moment I should have told her everything. I should have explained rules and corridors and what silence means. Instead, I said nothing. Silence is permission when used incorrectly. She put the badge back and did not ask again. That was stabilization for her. Decline for me. In March, dispatch started assigning night duty in rotating pairs. Not for safety. For witness verification. If 2 officers report the same anomaly, the department must acknowledge it. Bureaucracy has its own rules. Rule 15 lives in that space. 1 witness is anecdote. 2 is liability. 3 is investigation. Liability forces change. Investigation destabilizes the corridor. Destabilization reverberates. Reverberation widens the window for violations. No one wants that. One night I paired with Nguyen. He smoked too much and talked too little. We drove in companionable silence until we reached the basin. Nguyen pulled over and lit a cigarette. The cherry glowed bright. The desert went silent. "Kill it," I whispered. He crushed the cigarette. We waited. 15 seconds. 30. A minute. No sound returned. The silence deepened. I checked my watch. I could hear the second hand moving. That is not normal. We sat still. No lights. No radio. No speech. The corridor hates speech during silence events. It interprets speech as interaction. Interaction invites structure. Structure invites consequence. After 3 minutes, the silence broke not with sound, but with impact. Something tapped the roof. Once. Then twice. Then nothing. Nguyen drew his sidearm. I did not. Drawing invites action. "Roof," he whispered. "I know." We waited. The roof dented inward with a soft metallic groan. Not collapse. Indentation. The weight lifted. The desert sounds returned all at once. Cicadas buzzing. Wind on sage. A diesel truck far off. Someone laughed near the way station. The laugh was wrong. Too long. Too steady. Then gone. What was that? Nguyen asked. Rule 16. You do not look up. Nguyen nodded. What happens if you do? Unknown. Someone must have. Probably. What happened to them? No reports. Why no reports? Reports require survivors. Nguyen finished his shift without smoking again. By April, the corridor began using electronics. Patrol dash cams recorded footage at night showing taillights that did not exist in daylight. Body cameras caught shadows crossing the road against the direction of our headlights. One clip showed a trooper speaking to an empty shoulder for 20 seconds. His transcript read like a conversation. The audio held only his voice. That trooper requested immediate transfer. Transfer was denied. He stopped talking at work. I scheduled a wellness check for him. The department psychologist asked about stress management and sleep. He said nothing unusual. I asked about the corridor. The psychologist dismissed it as folklore. Folklore is safer than data. Data invites funding. Funding invites audits. Audits reveal patterns. Patterns imply intent. No one wants intent on a highway. Highways are supposed to be neutral zones. In May, the entity escalated. The Riviera returned again. Third contact. I was alone. Dusk. Temperature dropping fast. I saw the taillights near the bend. They did not move. I slowed. No siren. No lights. The car idled. Steam rising. I parked 30 yards behind. I stayed in the vehicle. Rule 1. I watched. After a full minute, the driver door opened. The man stepped out. Same build. Same jacket. Same absence of eye shine. He walked halfway toward my unit and stopped in the lane. He spoke without raising his voice. The corridor carried it. Officer Adams, your time is mismatched. I am on shift. Not the time for work. The time for return. Return of what? He tilted his head. Family. My breath caught. What family? Yours. I opened the door against instinct. Where is my family? Already crossing. Rule 17 formed in my mind. You do not negotiate for family on the corridor. Negotiation implies leverage. Leverage implies trade. Trade implies consent. Consent implies permanence. Where is Brooke? I asked anyway. Duty lost to compassion in one sentence. The man pointed behind me. I turned. Dusk deepened. No vehicles. No silhouettes. Nothing. When I faced forward again, the man was gone. The Riviera still idled. Then its lights flared and it drove away, leaving no tire marks on the asphalt. I drove home fast. Faster than policy. The house was dark. Brooke sat at the table grading papers. She looked up. Back early. Are you okay? Should I not be? You sure? Yes. Why? No reason. I stood in the doorway for a long time. She waited for an explanation. I did not give one. That was violation number 4. Organizations fail quietly. Families fail loudly. We were entering that phase. Brooke and I did not speak much that week. I hovered without context. She sensed it and withdrew. That is how emotional erosion works outside uniform. Silence becomes a second language. She graded papers. I paced. Neither of us asked the right questions because asking requires admitting there are answers. Work filled the spaces between home. In June, the department issued an internal bulletin labeled informational only. It described a pattern of traffic anomalies on Route 66 between markers 155 and 182. No supernatural language. Just anomalies. Sudden stalls. Spontaneous U-turns. Loss of GPS lock. Drivers reporting wrong exit signage. The bulletin ended with a request for increased observation. Observation without protocol is permission. Permission invites incident. Nguyen approached me after briefing. His hand shook slightly. Nicotine withdrawal or corridor fare? Hard to tell. They know. He said. They suspect. That is enough. Enough for what? For the next part. I wanted to ask what the next part meant. He walked away before I could. Mid-June brought heat that pressed the air down to ground level. Asphalt shimmered in waves. The corridor felt shorter. Time compressed. Minutes gained weight. That month we had our first rule conflict. Rule conflicts are more dangerous than violations. Violations kill individuals. Conflicts kill systems. It happened during a stranded motorist assist. A sedan overheated near the basin. Female driver. Alone. 20-something. We pulled behind. Lighting protocol. Approach passenger side. Standard. She rolled down the window. Sweat on her forehead. Car just died. I swear it just died. Morales looked at the temp gauge. Red line. Steam hissing. Popped the hood. He said. She pulled the lever. Morales stepped out front. I scanned the corridor. No other vehicles. No silence event. Normal conditions. The hood latch stuck. Morales struggled. The driver leaned out and offered help. Compassion impulse. That triggered Rule 8 conflict. Dependents may not approach until verified. She was not a dependent. She was an adult. But Rule 8 also covered unaccompanied civilians during mechanical incidents. We debated this rule for years without conclusion. Inconsistency is the place where corridor behaviors nest. Stay in the vehicle. I said. I can fix it. She insisted. Stay in the vehicle. She opened the door anyway. Duty conflict. She walked to Morales. He stepped back. Mom, please return to your car. She frowned. Why? It is just a car. Before I could answer, the corridor went silent. Not gradual. Instant. Cicadas off. Wind dead. Heat hum vanished. The driver froze. Morales closed the hood with both hands. He mouthed the word inside. She looked at us confused. Silence events demand minimal motion. Minimal speech. We got her to her seat without words. She complied because confusion overrides autonomy. The silence lasted 40 seconds. On second 39, a metallic click sounded near the rear axle. The type of click you hear when a car signals before turning. The sedan's turn signal was off. Our units were off. Click again. Then the silence broke. Insect chorus returned. Wind resumed. The driver opened her mouth to speak. What was that? Morales answered for me. Rule 16. You do not look up. She did not understand. Understanding was not required. We escorted her into Morales' unit and had tow handle extraction. Paperwork classified it as overheating with hazardous conditions. The conflict was resolved through institutional override. That cost us something we did not realize yet. Each override weakens rule integrity. Weak rules become invitations. After that incident, the corridor started watching home. Not directly. Indirect pressure. At night, our porch light flickered in the same warm orange tone as the Riviera's tail lights. Twice Brooke asked if someone changed the bulb. Twice I said no. Third time she did not ask. That is how families adapt. They choose ignorance when explanation fails. Late June, I received a call from Pierce's widow. Margaret's voice was thin on the line. Did you find something of his? Why do you ask? A badge. I dreamed it was in your house. I swallowed. Dreams are not covered by protocol. Where did you dream it was? In the closet. In a bag. It is evidence. No, she said. Evidence is what is read by others. That badge was for you. I will return it. I said. No. She said. You keep it. He is not done with you. I hung up. I did not sleep that night. Not because of fear. Because dreams became plausible information channels. Plausibility expands a corridor past geography. In July, a trainee named Santos joined our unit. Fresh academy. Full of procedure. During ride-along, he asked about corridor rumors. Morales shrugged. I said nothing. Santos laughed as if it was campfire talk. Rookies do not understand yet that rules are not folklore. They are casualty maps. Night shift that week was paired. Me and Santos. Thunderheads to the south. Dry lightning to the north. Corridor clay. We stopped at marker 172 to check a disabled vehicle tagged earlier. No one present. Hood up. Hoses intact. No coolant on pavement. That should not happen. Mechanical failure without evidence is corridor interference. We loved it. Santos walked around the sedan. Curiosity unspent. What are the actual rules out here? He asked. On the record or off? Off. You listen more than you talk. You do not leave the vehicle during silence. You do not accept dependence. You do not acknowledge names during contact. You do not look in trunks. You do not negotiate for family. You do not run lights during imperative signals. He smirked. Who makes these up? Los. Los makes rules. Yes. He shook his head. Sounds like stories. Stories do not dent roofs. He opened the driver door to check VIN. I felt my chest tighten. Close that. Why? Rule 5. You do not ask where the vehicle came from. I am not asking. I am checking VIN. Same thing. He hesitated. The corridor went silent. He looked at me. Is this it? Get in the unit. He slammed the door and ran. We entered our cruiser and waited. The silence held. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Something brushed the sedan's hood. A dragging sound. Then nothing. Silence broke. Santos whispered. You were not messing around. No. We filed no report on that event. Reporting requires classification. Classification invites scrutiny. Scrutiny invites rationalization. Rationalization destabilizes containment. Early August brought heat fatigue. Officers grew irritable. Dispatch grew terse. The corridor grew active. 3 silence events in 1 week. One was accompanied by a voice on the radio saying stop. No imperative context. Pure command. No one moved. Even drivers stayed frozen in their cars. A minute later the voice said go. Traffic resumed. We assigned no rule number to that. We simply obeyed. That same week Pierce's badge disappeared from the closet. I assumed Brooke moved it. I asked. She said no. I searched the house. Nothing. I told myself evidence chain misremembered. But memory degradation is not that clean. The badge had weight. Absence had weight too. That absence preceded the next major set piece. I call it the school bus incident. It happened mid-month on a Monday. No storms. No silence. Ordinary daylight. A county school bus broke down at the corridor intersection near Valentine. 14 kids on board. Driver radioed for assistance. County routed to us because of jurisdiction boundary overlap. Morales and I responded. Nguyen and Santos followed. The bus sat angled. Hood open. Driver standing by. Kids inside. Some crying from heat. That alone posed violation risks. Compassion. Dependence. Mechanical. Multi-rule overlap. Rule conflict stack. Stacks collapse systems. Morales approached the driver. How long? 10 minutes. Lost power coming up the hill. Get everyone off. Air conditioning still works. No. Off the bus. Driver complied. Kids filed out onto gravel shoulder. I scanned the corridor. No silence. No taillights. No Riviera. I exhaled. Too early. Relief invites escalation. Nguyen escorted the kids to our units for shade and water. Santos checked the engine. Morales checked for leaks. Routine until a girl tugged my sleeve. 8 years old. Glasses. Hair in a braid. Officer. Someone is knocking in there. In the bus. She nodded. At the back. Back of the bus held emergency exit. I walked with her. Stay behind me. She nodded. Morales looked over. I gestured. He joined. At the rear, Morales touched the metal. Anything? I asked. No. We waited. 10 seconds. Something knocked twice. Slow. Deliberate. Not a child. Not metal expansion. Morales whispered. Rule. I know. Rule 18. You do not open emergency exits during contact events. The girl moved closer. My brother is in there. She said. All kids are accounted for. Morales replied. She shook her head. Not that brother. Morales mouthed no. I held my breath. The knocking grew slower. Then the handle on the emergency exit flexed. Not pulled. Flexed. Metal bending inward without tool or hand. Nguyen shouted from the front. Silence. Sound dropped out. Total. Kids froze mid-sob. Driver froze mid-gesture. We froze. The corridor uses silence as transaction space. The emergency exit bulged. Then relaxed. The handle returned to neutral. Noise resumed. Coyotes. Wind. Kids crying. Driver shouting. We evacuated the kids to county rigs. Driver refused to leave until paperwork signed. Duty conflict. Morales shoved the clipboard against his chest. Sign. Driver signed. He said something I could barely hear. He wanted to come home. Morales stopped. Who? Leonard. Compassion violation. Name invocation. We pulled the driver 50 yards away. He cried into his hands. I filed that detail away. Corridor using identity of missing officer in presence of minors. Escalation type emotional. Target dependence. Consequence unknown. Tow arrived. Bus moved. County med check kids. No injuries. Parents thanked us. The corridor took nothing physical. That is how systemic failure begins. Extraction without casualty. Casualty arrives later. Systemic, not individual. 2 days after the bus incident, the girl's mother called the station. She said the girl kept asking when her other brother would come home. Family stated she had no other brother. She also reported orange lights outside her house at night. Deputies checked. No vehicles. Corridor was expanding geographically. By late August, everyone felt watched. Not paranoid. Observed. Phones rang once, then stopped. Radios clicked without traffic. Patrol units found dead insects arranged in circles on road shoulders. Patterns implied geometry. Geometry implies rules older than ours. That month, Brooke asked me to take vacation. I said I could not. Vacation scheduling depends on staffing. Staffing depends on incidents. Incidents were rising. She asked why I would not talk. I told her I did not want to scare her. She said fear is easier than ignorance. I still did not tell her. That was violation 5. Labor Day weekend brought tourists. Tourists break rules without knowing rules exist. That chaos forced a temporary suppression event. The corridor went quiet. No silence events. No Riviera. No voices. We thought that was stabilization. False. It was recall. Recall precedes impact. Impact came 3 days after tourists left. Tuesday night. No moon. Thin cloud. Dispatch pinged multiple 911 hang-ups from payphones along the corridor. Payphones have not worked in years. County traced no voice data. Morales and I responded. Nguyen shadowed. We found the first booth at marker 160. Receiver hung off the cradle. No power. No dial tone. Someone had scrawled 7 words in dust on the glass. Time does not agree with your choices. Morales photographed it. Nguyen touched the glass. His finger traced the letter T. The corridor went silent. I grabbed his wrist. No contact. Too late. Silence held. The phone rang once. A real ring. Bell mechanism. 1980s style. It rang again. Then again. 3 rings. Silence broke. The booth door swung shut. We backed away. Nguyen did not sleep after that. He requested transfer again. Denied again. Transfers are liabilities. Liabilities stay local. 2 nights later, Pierce's badge returned. Not to the closet. To my pillow. I found it after showering. Evidence bag gone. Badge cold. Metal smelled like rainwater. I sat on the edge of the bed holding it. Brooke walked in. She stared. Where did you find it? I did not. Then who did? Someone who wants me to see it. Someone or something. I looked up. She was not afraid. She was tired. That is worse. Fear implies distance. Fatigue implies proximity. I told her a partial truth. There are rules on the corridor. They are not written. They exist because people died learning them. I did not want to bring them home. She nodded. You already did. She held the badge. The metal did not chill her hand. I do not know why. She set it on the nightstand. What does it want? Time. Time for what? That is the part we cannot stop. We slept facing opposite directions. Between us the badge glowed faintly under the streetlight. Orange reflection. Not from our streetlight. From taillights. The badge stayed on the nightstand for 3 days. Neither of us touched it. That created a strange domestic detent. Objects gain gravity when no one interacts with them. We went around the room instead of through it, as if the badge was a sinkhole in the rug. On the morning of day 4, Brooke set a coast under it. Not as ritual, as courtesy. That told me she had accepted its presence as part of the house. Acceptance is another form of violation. Work resumed its slow collapse. In early September, a regional safety conference was held in Prescott. DPS, Sheriff, County Emergency Management, Highway Infrastructure. The agenda listed wildfire risk and evacuation coordination. Corridor was not on the agenda. Corridor was never on the agenda. But it hangs over every meeting like a heat shimmer. During lunch, the county emergency manager pulled me aside. Older man. Saw the 60s. Knows when to speak off record. He asked about the kids on the bus. I said they were unharmed. He said harm does not need a body to count. Then he told me a story from 1979 about a Greyhound coach that vanished between Peach Springs and Kingman. 40 passengers. Luggage recovered in a gulch. No bodies. No mechanical evidence. Tickets refunded. Company blamed flash flood despite no weather events. That story never made newspapers. Families settled with sealed agreements. He asked if that was the same corridor I patrol. I said yes. He nodded and walked away. That was secondary perspective pressure. Institutional memory without institutional language. Back home, Brooke began asking questions that touched the edges of the rules. Is it something you can arrest? No. Is it something you can shoot? No. Can it be negotiated with? Negotiation assumes parity. Then what do? I delay it. She tried to absorb that answer. Most people assume authorities solve problems. Corridor authority manages time, not outcomes. Mid-September brought heat relief and night wind. Silence events resumed. Nguyen smoked again. Santos studied transfer policies. Dispatch began logging phantom calls. Callers identifying as DPS units not on shift. Dispatchers learned Rule 19 on their own. Confirm visual before responding to radio identity. One evening, Brooke asked to see the corridor. That request froze me. Civilians are not briefed. Not escorted. Not exposed. The corridor sees dependence as leverage and leverage as invitation. Invitation is always accepted. I told her no. She asked why. Compassion violation risk. I said because rules do not protect people who do not know them. She said knowledge protects more than ignorance. She was right. Knowledge protects until it costs. The badge left the nightstand on its own. I woke to find it on the dining table. Then the garage. Then the car hood. Each time placed neatly. Not dropped. as if staged for review. Brooke stopped asking if I moved it. She started asking what it wanted me to remember. I said piss. She said maybe not. The next set piece arrived without theatrics. Afternoon patrol. Clear skies. Interstate D2 sent trucks across the corridor. Traffic disrupts anomaly patterns. That should have helped. It did not. A semi-jackknife near marker 168. No collision. No wind. No brake failure. The driver later claimed something in the mirrors moved opposite to the truck. Against momentum. Against physics. He overcorrected. Trailer swung. We responded. Morales managed perimeter. Nguyen handled driver. I checked cab camera. The dash footage showed ordinary lane. Then taillights appeared from the front. That should not be possible. Traffic was one direction. The taillights passed through the cab like reflection on glass. No impact. No sound. After that, the driver jerked the wheel. That incident produced Rule 20. Do not correct for lights that do not have mass. 2 days later, Pierce's badge appeared in my patrol bag at the station. No one could have placed it there without me seeing them. I took it to the evidence room. I logged it officially. Chain of custody signed. 10 minutes later, Morales approached me holding the same badge. You dropped this in the lot. I looked at the evidence bag in my hand. Empty. Morales handed me the badge. 2 badges. Then 1. The bag flattened. The badge warmed. Corridor interacting with property. Limitation on clay. We discussed it in the cruiser. Morales stared at the windshield like a man reconsidering career. It is trying to give something back. He said, time. Debt. Debt for what? For breaking Rule 3. I did not break Rule 3. You touched him. Rule 3 is you do not approach driver's side. I obeyed that. But I broke Rule 4 by accepting the name. And Rule 5 by allowing return to vehicle. Combined violations equal debt. Morales tapped the dashboard. Debt implies settlement. Settlement implies terms. Terms imply outcome. What outcome? You will not like it. I did not respond. September ended with personnel review. Department psychologist met with all corridor patrol officers. She asked about stress, sleep, appetite, family strain. None of us mentioned rules. None mentioned silence. Silence about silence is meta rule 0. You do not publicize anomaly. Publicity invites oversight. Oversight invites rationalization. Rationalization accelerates systemic failure. Morales received a recommendation for leave. He declined. Nguyen received nicotine cessation tips. Santos received nothing. I received mandatory counseling follow-up. Second appointment scheduled for November. Long delay meant department did not know what to do with me. October brought escalation that targeted outside institutions. That escalation is always the most dangerous. When a threat expands beyond jurisdiction, the state tries to model it. Modeling invites misclassification. Misclassification invites countermeasures. Countermeasures increase exposure. It started with a call from Bureau of Land Management. 2 rangers reported unusual rail activity parallel to the corridor. Freight consists stopping without signal. Diesel engines idling with no crew. Boxcar lights active despite no power lines. They asked if we had jurisdiction over old Route 66. We said highway only. They said then we have a problem. That was first acknowledgement of cross-domain interaction. Corridor expanding beyond road into infrastructure. Later that week, a Union Pacific security supervisor visited the station. He inquired about missing train manifests. Said some consist do not arrive. Or they arrive with fewer cars than departed. Rail yards assume theft. But losing a 40-ton boxcar is not petty theft. He asked if we saw rail trucks along the corridor. Morales said no. Supervisor left contact info. That exchange created Rule 21. You do not correlate rail anomalies with corridor events in official writing. Cross-domain correlation triggers federal attention. Federal attention triggers system audit. System audit destabilizes containment. During that period, Brooke became restless. She slept poorly, woke often, asked questions with partial answers. Why do you check the porch light at night? Because color matters. What color? Orange. Like the car? Yes. Why would it come here? Because it follows names. She stared at the ceiling. Does it want mine too? I hope not. Hope is not a rule. Hope is an excuse. Mid-October came a silence event at home. I was on the porch. Baruch in the kitchen. Cicadas cut. Refrigerator hums stopped. Streetlight buzz ceased. Silence pressed through the walls. Baruch called my name. I did not answer. Silence events require stillness. She stepped onto the porch. What is happening? I whispered. Do not move. She froze. The badge on the table inside clicked once. Metal on wood. The porch light flickered. Warm orange. Then silence broke. Baruch exhaled. That was it. Yes. It can reach here. Yes. She sat on the porch steps and held her knees. Then rules do not contain it. They delay it. For how long? Until it wants more. She looked at me. What more? Family. That conversation was our first direct negotiation. Not with the corridor. With each other. At work we faced administrative recall. Phoenix sent observers. Not command. Not auditors. Observers. They ride in silence. Take notes. They create no paperwork trail. Their presence is an admission without language. Corridor knows language. Corridor knows absence better. One observer rode with me. Middle-aged. Thin. Quiet. Asked to see the basin at night. I drove slow. He asked no questions. When we reached marker 167, he looked out the window and said, "It is older than the road." I stiffened. What? The corridor. You know about it. We know it exists. We do not know what it is. Then why are you here? To confirm escalation. For who? For the ones who pay for roads. Infrastructure perspective. Not safety. Not survival. Economics sees corridors as cost per mile. The corridor we patrol is cost per casualty. Different math. I asked him one more question. Can you stop it? He shook his head. No. Stopping implies beginning. This never began. He left next day. No follow-up. Observers never explain. They simply signal that someone, somewhere, is preparing to classify the unclassifiable. Classification leads to failure. Inevitable. Late October brought a day without incidents. No silence. No anomalies. No corridor contact. That was stabilization. Real or false, unclear at first. Morales called it the eye of something. Nguyen smoked less. Santos finally laughed at a joke. The station felt human again. That should have terrified us. Relief is bait. On Halloween night, the corridor presented its next test. Wind gusts. Leaves on asphalt. A family minivan stopped on the shoulder. Hazard lights blinking. We pulled behind. Father outside checking a flat tire. Mother inside with a crying infant. Toddler asleep in booster. Dependence. Multi-rule cluster. I approached father. Need assistance. Spare is flat too. Just our luck. His voice steady. Too steady. Corridor interactions often borrow calm. Get everyone out. They are fine in the car. Get them out. He hesitated. Looked at the corridor. Wind whipped leaves. No silence. No lights. He opened the door. Mother stepped out with infant. Toddler blinked awake. Where are we? The toddler asked. Route 66. I said, is Daddy coming home now? The father closed the rear door. He did not react. Mother shushed the toddler. Daddy is right here. The toddler shook head. Other daddy. Corridor mimicry again. But now using familial terminology. Emotional leverage. Morales radioed for tow. Dispatch answered with a different voice. Not distortion. Not imperative. Identity mismatch. Tow dispatched. Do not leave scene. Morales frowned. Repeat dispatch. Silence. Then our actual dispatcher spoke. Tow en route. 30 minutes. Rule 22. Confirm voice identity with challenge phrase. We adopted later. Too late for that night. Wind picked up. Corridor went silent mid-gust. Leaves froze mid-air. Infant stopped crying mid-breath. I felt my ears fill with pressure. Mother squeezed infant. Father looked through me. Toddler stared at the leaves. A set of orange taillights appeared behind us. No sound. No engine. Riviera. Lights only. No body. Lights hovered 3 feet above ground. Then angled as if turning. Leaves resumed. Infant wailed. Corridor spoke. Not through mouths. Through motion. The lights drifted into the air and vanished. Silence broke. Tow arrived early. 20 minutes. We loaded the minivan. Father thanked us. Mother buckled kids into tow cab. Toddler waved at the empty corridor. Good night, Daddy. No one corrected her. Correction invites lineage conflict. We let tow leave. After they were gone, Morales spoke. They are recruiting. For what? For return. Return means extraction. Extraction means disappearance. Disappearance means casualty without remains. Corridor casualty is always without remains. That night I went home. Brooke sat in the living room with the lights off. Porch light on. Orange tint. The badge sat on the coffee table. She held her phone. Screen dark. It wants me to know something. She said. What? That you broke a rule. More than one. Which one matters? I sat across from her. Rule 4. Name acceptance. Rule 5. Vehicle return. Rule 8. Dependent acceptance. Rule 17. Negotiation for family. She nodded. Then the debt is with the family. Yes. She looked out the window. Then we need new rules. Families do not make rules. Families suffer rules. I did not tell her that. The next morning the badge was gone again. Not stolen. Not misplaced. Just gone. That absence preceded the greatest escalation. The one that forced system failure out of containment and into consequence. But that was still ahead. We had not reached winter yet. Winter is where the corridor makes its claims. November arrived with early frost on the basin and long shadows across the asphalt. Cold sharpened sound out here. You can hear gravel shift under coyotes from a mile. You can hear the brush flex under wind that has not reached you yet. And you can hear the silence when it falls. Distinct. Hollow. Like the desert is holding its breath. That month the corridor held its breath constantly. The badge did not return for 2 weeks. For something that had started appearing daily. That absence created pressure. Brooke asked if that meant it was finished with us. I told her absence means preparation. Preparation always arrives as silence first. Then contact. Then consequence. She started sleeping with the bedroom door cracked open. Not for light. For escape. We stopped eating dinner together. I came home late each night. I told her it was reports. She knew it was not. She also knew not asking questions was a rule I was making for her benefit. And rules made out of fear are always broken first. Work fractured. Morales grew withdrawn. Nguyen stopped trying to transfer and instead asked for more corridor shifts. That terrified me more than anything. When someone seeks the thing that is destroying them, it means the corridor has shifted from external threat to internal magnet. On November 7th, we received a call from dispatch. Single vehicle collision. Old station wagon. No skid marks. No driver on scene. Standard anomaly. We arrived to find the car angled across the road. Driver door open. Headlights on. No damage. Engine warm. A tape deck hummed inside, playing static at a soft volume. Morales approached first. No sign of struggle. He said, driver could be in the brush. Nguyen said, no footprints. I counted. We circled. The wagon was 1970 era. Arizona plates expired in 1985. Dusty but not rusted. As if pulled from storage minutes ago. Santos arrived late. He jogged from his unit. Hands shaking from cold. What is it with old cars out here? He muttered. Rule 23. Morales said quietly. Do not trust age as an indicator of origin. Nguyen opened the back door. I grabbed his shoulder. Stop. He froze. Silence fell. Not full silence. The corridor's lesser silence. A warning silence. Wind continued but softer. Insects chirped but irregular. The static in the wagon rose in pitch. Santos stepped back. What do we do? I pointed to the tape deck. Turn that off. Why? Because it is listening to itself. He nodded and reached inside. Before he touched it, the tape reversed direction. Static became garbled speech. Male. Words too fast. Something like help me over and over. Collapsing into its own echo. Nguyen swore. Morales drew his weapon. I shut the driver door. The tape deck clicked off. Sound returned. Full sound. Wind. Gravel. A distant dog barking from a ranch north side. Morales holstered. That was a warning. I nodded. Not for us. For who? Whoever drove this. No driver was ever recovered. Highway wrote it up as abandoned vehicle. Tow took it. The corridor does not mind tow trucks. Machines follow rules better than people. That same week Brooke's sister called. Brooke answered in the hall. She spoke in low voice. I could hear only fragments. Lights outside. Not our car. Yes, orange. No one there. Just watching. She hung up and looked at me. It is spreading. To your family. To ours. I sat down. I took her hands. They were cold. Too cold for the house temperature. When did you see them? 3 nights now. Same distance. Same color. No engine. Just waiting. Did it move closer? No. That is why I am scared. I breathed slowly. Do not go near the windows at night. Then where do I go? To me. She closed her eyes. You cannot even protect yourself. She was right. Protection was never part of my job. Containment was. Minimization was. Delay was. Families cannot be delayed. They are either held together or torn open. Mid-November departmental oversight increased. Observers returned. Not the same man from before. 3 different ones. 2 women. 1 young man with a lanyard that said transport safety. Their presence meant the corridor's behavior had created interagency alarm. They requested ride-alongs. We refused citing safety. They insisted citing authority. Authority does not matter on the corridor. Presence does. So they sat in the back seats. Clipboards on knees. Recording silence events like they were traffic patterns. One of them asked during a lull, has anyone physically encountered the primary anomaly? Morales looked at me. I answered, yes. What form does it take? Human when seen. Car when moving. Something else when neither. Does it articulate speech? Yes. What kind? Directive. Mimicked. Borrowed. Borrowed from who? Us. She wrote quickly. What does it want? Time. Whose time? Whichever time is offered. She paused her pen. Do you believe it selects individuals based on behavior? No. It selects based on rules. Rules you made or rules it made? Both. The observer closed her notebook. That was the first sign they were not prepared for what they were requesting. Information without context is worthless. Information about the corridor becomes weaponized simply by existing. A week later, 2 of the observers stopped showing up. Their rental car was found abandoned near Seligman. Keys inside. Seat belts buckled. Phones on the dash unlocked. One phone recorded a 1-second clip of orange lights moving in a circle. The circle was too perfect for human driving. DPS sent a recovery crew. Not search and rescue. Recovery. That told me everything I needed to know. Thanksgiving approached. Brooke wanted us to leave town. Visit her parents. I wanted that too. But leaving the corridor unattended on a holiday weekend when interstate overflow spills onto our route is asking for mass incident. I asked Morales to cover me. He refused. Nguyen refused. Santos said he could, but he did not know the full rules. I could not endanger him. We cannot leave. I told her. So we stay and wait for something to come for us. I can keep it on the corridor. How? By being on it. She did not answer. She walked into the bedroom and shut the door. The badge was back on the pillow. Thanksgiving night I worked alone. I volunteered. Major traffic through the corridor. Families with out-of-state plates. Rental cars. Tired parents. kids on tablets, all oblivious to the rules they were unknowingly violating. You cannot ask every driver to remain silent during silence events. You cannot ask an infant to avoid mimicry traps. You cannot ask tourists not to follow their GPS into a dead zone when the dead zone is breathing. Around 9, a minivan pulled onto the shoulder ahead of me. Hazards on. Steam hissing. I slowed. Before I could exit, the corridor went silent. Instant. Children inside froze mid-motion. A slice of turkey halfway to one boy's mouth stayed suspended. The wind stopped. I did not exit. Rule 1. I sat still. Hands on wheel. Breath shallow. The driver door opened. A man stepped out. Mid-40s. Glasses. He moved wooden. He looked at me and raised his hand as if waving. "Officer," he said softly. No sound carried across the silence. His mouth formed the word, but no air followed. He took another step toward my unit. I tensed. He pointed behind him. A shape sat in the driver's seat. Not the same man. Something wearing his posture, his outline, his silhouette, but wrong in the details. Shoulders too even. Head angled slightly too smooth. Hands too still on the wheel. The real driver looked back, saw it, and began to cry. No sound. He ran toward me. I stayed in the unit. Rule 8. Do not accept dependents. Do not accept civilians during silence. He reached my door. Hands pressed against glass. "Please," his mouth said. The shape in the driver's seat tilted its head. Slight. Observing. Then the silence broke like a snapped branch. Sound rushed back. Infants crying. Wind gusting. Hazard lights clicking. The man stumbled back, gasping. I exited slowly. "Sir, stay where you are." He pointed to the van. "My family. Someone. Something." There was no one in the driver's seat now. His wife leaned back, rubbing her forehead confused. The kids resumed normal crying. No memory of being frozen. I escorted him to my unit. He sobbed the whole time. Morales arrived 20 minutes later. "What happened?" he asked quietly. "Rule 24. I said. "Which is? You do not intervene when a mimic replaces a driver during silence. If you do, you trade places. With what? With whatever gets out." He swallowed hard. "Did he trade?" "No." He ran to me. "That breaks the exchange." "What happens if he had entered your unit?" "I do not know. We logged the incident. Families drove on unaware. That was corridor logic. Take something. Leave something. In this case, it took only Faye. That meant it was preparing to take more later. That night, Brooke did not wait up. I found her sleeping in the guest room. Blanket over her head. Badge on the floor beside the bed. December began bleak. Rain. Wind. Silence events layered on silence events. Rules layered on rules. Each shift harder to navigate. Each day at home more strained. One morning Brooke showed me her phone. A voicemail. No caller ID. Timestamp 2:23 a.m. We played it. Nothing. Then faint breathing. Then a man's voice whispering my name. Not a mimic. Not the corridor. Pierce. Brooke looked at me for explanation. "You said he vanished." "He did." "Then how is he calling?" "He is not." "Then what is?" "That." She flinched. "I want us to leave," she said quietly. "We cannot." "Then you leave." "I will stay with my sister." I shook my head. "It follows names." She stared at me. "What do you mean?" "If you leave, it follows the name it knows." "Yours. Mine. Both." She turned off the phone. "You cannot cage me in this house. I am trying to keep it from using you. You cannot keep something from me that already knows me." She was right. That night I slept on the couch. At work, escalation became systemic. Corridor events spread to communications. At random times, all radios in the region cut to open carrier. No static. No voices. Just the sense of a line being held open by someone who had not spoken yet. County dispatchers reported hearing overlapping laughter during routine checks. The laugh had no origin point. No acoustics. Laughter without source is the worst sound you can hear on a highway. Rule 25 formed. Do not respond to joy on the corridor. Joy is not human protocol. Mid-December, the corridor made another direct appearance. Night patrol. Light snow. Road slick. I passed marker 166. The place where I met the driver the first time. Orange lights appeared in my mirror. Not behind me. Inside the mirror. As if tailing me through a dimension offset by a pane of glass. I slowed. Lights slowed. I stopped. Lights stopped. Then the passenger seat depression sank down as if someone sat there. I did not turn my head. Toning invites interaction. Soft voice to my right. Officer Adams. Pierce's voice. Calm. Mature. Patient. You broke rules. I know. You owe time. What time? Your time. Her time. His time. Whose his? You know. I do not. It is too late. I exhaled. Is it claiming Brooke? No. Then who? You. I swallowed. What for? Return. Return to where? Same place I went. I cannot go. You already started. I kept my eyes on the windshield. Why me? Because you touched me. Rule violation. Rule 4. Rule 5. Rule 17. Rule compounding. Rule debt. I whispered. What happens now? There will be one more chance. For what? Choice. The mirror fogged. My breath clouded. When I blinked, the passenger seat was empty. I sat there shaking. Breath clutched in my chest. Next morning, Brooke did not wake up easily. She slept heavy. Too heavy. When she finally stirred, she asked one question. Dylan, why did someone sit on our bed last night? I felt my throat close. Did you see them? No. I felt the mattress sink. Did they say anything? Only my name. That was the moment I knew the corridor had moved from observation to claim. It was selecting someone. And I knew exactly who. Not Brooke. Not Morales. Not Nguyen. Not Santos. Not the tourists. It was selecting me. And the choice Pierce mentioned was coming. A choice between rule and family. And both would break me. January bled into February without distinction. The corridor held its shape day to day. But its presence changed texture. Before it had been external. Now it folded inward. Not into land. Into people. Patrol schedules doubled. Not to stop anything. To witness it. Administrations always escalate observation during system failure. Evidence is cheaper than action. Morales stopped shaving. Stopped joking. Stopped insisting rules were enough. He once believed rules meant survival. Now he believed rules only meant deferral. One night during briefing he said it plainly. Rules are not walls. They are timers. No one disagreed. Withdrawal from corridor duty was no longer granted. Nguyen's exit had proven that the corridor could settle debt across jurisdiction. Transfer was no escape. Resignation was not refusal. Distance was illusion. The corridor follows names. Brooke started keeping her phone on silent. She said notifications made the house feel occupied. She said she did not want to know when something wanted her attention. She stopped going to school in late January. She called in sick. Then again. Then she stopped calling at all. Her sister brought groceries. I thanked her at the door. She would not meet my eyes. Behind me, Brooke asked if she brought the lights with her. Her sister shook her head once and left. After she drove away, Brooke said, "They see through her now." I did not ask how she knew. Knowledge was not the problem anymore. Certainty was. What brought new forms of pressure? The corridor started interfering with official records. Dash cams captured empty roadways when we knew vehicles had been present. Body cams recorded our voices asking questions without civilian audio responding. Paper citations printed with timestamps from years that were not current. One ticket listed 1982. Another listed 2040. Infractions across time. Dispatch received return calls from troopers who were not on shift. County log patrol units driving through needles even though those units never left Arizona. Time was no longer linear on the corridor. We were no longer patrolling a highway. We were patrolling an interface. The badge returned to the kitchen table on February 1st. Not in a bag. Not in silence. It clinked against ceramic while Brooke and I sat 5 feet away. She whispered, "It is calling you." I said nothing. "It will not stop until you answer. We do not answer direct summons. Then it will ask louder." We waited. The badge quivered once. Like breath. Noise died in the house. Not full silence. Not corridor silence. Household silence. Suspended sound. "You need to be on the road," Brooke said quietly. "I cannot leave you. You already did. The moment you enforced rules instead of questions." I tasted bitterness. Rule over compassion. Duty over love. Corridor over marriage. It was always that order. "I will return." She looked past me. "Not all return." I put on my uniform. I left the badge on the table. When I stepped onto the porch, the corridor had already pulled at the night. The orange hue pulsed not in beams but in reflections, as if invisible headlights scanned buildings slowly. I drove without radio, without music, without expectations. The corridor made first contact at marker 159. Taillights bloomed a few yards ahead, not on the asphalt. Above it, a suspended trace. Then sound cut. Total silence. I slowed. Did not stop. On second 10 the taillights rotated inward, becoming circular. On second 20 the lights folded diagonally and disappeared. Sound resumed. Rule 28. If the corridor erases without taking, drive on. I drove on. At 165 I saw the Riviera. Not parked. Not moving. Halfway across lanes. Doors open. Engine idling without vibration. Steam curling without heat. I stopped 60 yards behind. I stayed inside. Silence again. The heavy kind. The kind that presses choices into bones. He stepped out. Same man. Same jacket. Same absence. Only difference was his eyes. Not dull. Reflective. Like polished steel. They showed the corridor behind him instead of the desert in front. He spoke. "Officer Adams. Present. You have refused settlement. I have delayed settlement. Delay is theft. I know. You must choose." "No. Choice is mandatory. There are always alternatives." There were alternatives. You consumed them. I gripped the wheel. "What now?" "Time is owed. We can negotiate." Negotiation concluded when you touched me. I closed my eyes. Gravel. Cold air. Mist. The first violation. Who pays? "You do." He paused. "But not yet." "Then who?" He pointed at the horizon. "Someone waits." Headlights emerged from the basin. A patrol unit. County markings. No driver. Unit 2-1. Santos's old cruiser. My radio clicked. Open carrier. Then a faint human voice. "Officer Adams." Santos. Breathing ragged. I did not want. Then static. Morales arrived from the west. Braked hard. Exited with side-on. 6-4. "What are you doing?" I raised a hand. "Stand down. You are in the open. Corridor vent. Get in the vehicle." Too late. Morales looked between me and the Riviera. "Is that him?" "Yes." "You need to get out of there." "I cannot." Silence deepened. Corridor silence. The driver spoke. "Debt can be paid 3 ways. Removal. Replacement. Return. Define. Removal is subtraction. Replacement is substitution. Return is restoration." Which applies to Santos. Replacement. Which applies to Pierce. Return. And me. Removal. My jaw tightened. Define removal. You cease in this time. You continue elsewhere. Elsewhere where? Same road. Different hour. Same rules. Different stakes. Morales forced speech through the still air. "Do not accept." The driver turned to him. "You are not chosen. You are witness." I made a mistake then. Not a violation. Something wise. "What about Brooke?" The driver tilted his head. "She is not required." Relief. Then dread. "Not required for what?" "For settlement. If I pay, she remains." "She remains." Silence released. Wind resumed. The corridor had moved to negotiation phase. There are no winners in negotiation, only survivors. Who dictates settlement? You do. Why me? Because you broke lineage. You touched. You named. You carried. You delayed. You informed. You concealed. Then what is the choice? Stay here. Or cross. Cross how? Like Leonard. Like Santos. And return like Leonard. Sometimes. What is the limitation? It cannot take those who are not named. Brooke was safe. Morales was safe. Nguyen had been named. Santos had been named. Pierce had been named. I had been named. I opened the door. I stepped onto the asphalt. Wind died. Silence returned. You choose removal. Yes. Then cross. The basin bent. Depth doubled. Light skewed. I took one step. Then another. Then a third. The world folded. Route 66. Same road. Wrong year. No sound. No time. Pierce stood ahead. You should not have crossed. I did. It will hurt. I know. Why did you delay? I thought delay would protect others. It only changes who disappears. Can we return? Yes. Will we be the same? No. Then why return? Because someone has to tell the rules. The corridor folded again. Light returned. Sound returned. Gravity returned. I collapsed. Morales caught me. Rules changed. I whispered. They evolve. After that, the corridor behaved differently. Aware. Adaptive. I spent 48 hours in medical. No answers. No consequences. Brooke waited at home. How long? She asked. Minutes, hey. Unknown there. She nodded. I returned to patrol. Rule 29. Crossing is partial payment. In February, the corridor breathed. Watched. Waited. Then it sent a boy. With a photograph. The photograph showed Pierce. And me. In 1982. Written on the edge. Learn them faster this time. Rules were not for survival. They were for speed. Brooke looked at me. What about us? I owe one more settlement. Orange light washed across the glass. It is calling, she said. I kissed her shoulder. Once. I stepped into the street. The corridor folded the neighborhood into highway. The Riviera waited. You choose removal. I do. The road stretched into interval. Time was taken. Not my body. I am still here. Somewhere on Route 66. Between hours. Writing this. Because lineage must continue. So listen. Do not step off the road during silence. Do not accept names. Do not negotiate for family. Do not look in trunks. Do not correct for lights without mass. Do not read corridor items on corridor ground. Do not run. And remember the last rule. It cannot take those who are not named. Do not give it your name. Because one day you will see the orange lights. Soft. Patient. You will think you are alone. You are not. You will survive long enough to learn the rules. Long enough to pass them on. And that is all the corridor requires.